Touch the leg, and greetings to all my dear students. Well, I'm back and I'm here to post yet another video lesson, and I hope that this video finds you in great health and spirit. It's been almost a week since the first video, and I hope that you must have really understood the first lesson well, and along with, hopefully you must have had few meaningful practice sessions on your system. I must make this pretty clear. Regardless of how well you have understood the lesson in terms of its concept, but if you do not have enough practice on the system, you are missing out on something really big. So understanding the concept clearly and then followed by good, hard, long practice sessions on your computers will make the picture perfect and complete. So I request everybody to maintain a fine balance between the two. Okay, so for today's class, I would like to continue from where we have left in the earlier video. But before I proceed further, let us quickly recall the earlier topic and the subtopics. I hope you do remember the name of the chapter. It is file handling. And then I remember giving you a brief introduction about the importance of file when it comes to writing a program for a big softwares. And then I've also covered the likes of the various kinds of operation. For example, the reading operation, the writing operation, and then appending operation, even though the later two were briefly introduced to you. And then I would like to focus, or I would like to spend today's video lesson on the remaining two operations, the writing and the appending. And then there were two types of files which I've discussed. The first one is text and the second one is binary. Followed by three of the reading operations. The first one is read, followed by read line, and then finally we have read lines. So I'll not delve any further, otherwise we'll fall short of the duration of 1 hour, which I would like to keep it for today's video lesson. So these were the topics which we have discussed in the first video. So today let us try to understand the importance of writing and appending. As much as important is the writing information from the file, writing information back into the file is equally important. If you imagine any kind of operation on softwares, either it will be reading or it will be writing. And that writing could include some kind of modification, which means appending, but basically it boils down to writing operation. For an example, you are working on word processor of Microsoft Word. Most of the times what you do is, first thing that you do is open a file, and that's an example of a reading operation. And then you read the file, you want to make some modification, you want to delete the file. So these kind of changes fall under the category of writing operation. So today we'll be learning two very important operations with regard to the writing process. The first one is just write, as you could see here, just the write, and then followed by write lines. So the following 8 programs, I guess 8 to 9 programs, will give us a complete picture when it comes to the usage of these two writing functions. Okay, let's get on with the first program of today's class. Program number 9, which will be the continuation of the earlier class. Create a file to hold some data. Create a file to hold some data. So this time it's understandably based on writing operation. We'll start off with a very simple example. Okay, so as usual, we need to first define a file object. File object or file handle, they are nothing but a reference to a specific file on which the operation will be carried out. So this time I would like to name the variable as file in. The last class I remember using file out. So the variables, whenever they are defined, you should try to make them sound or appear as friendly as possible, so that the understanding of the program becomes much easier. Okay, and then we need to use this function by the name of open, followed by R, I'll be explaining this, C colon, and then we have our very own folder by the name of temp, and then followed by stew.txt. Okay, so unlike the earlier programs, we have not specified any parameter which follows the first parameter. So if you do not specify the second parameter is nothing but a file mode. I repeat, the second parameter of the open function is the file mode. What do you mean by file mode? Is it's a mode, or it's a medium via which we'll get to have a clear idea of the nature of operation that will be carried out on the specified file. So in short, the second parameter, which is file mode, governs the kind of operation on the specific file stew.txt, as in the current example. If you do not specify the file mode, the default file mode will always be R. R stands for just reading operation. So if you keep it like this, stew.txt can be used for reading operation. You cannot use it for writing operation. Now this time I have to write some information to the file by the name of stew.txt. Hence I have to specify explicitly the file mode, which is W. W is the file mode for writing operation. And then as usual, the open function definition, once it gets executed, it will return a reference, return an address, so which will be assigned to an object by the name of file in. So it is through file in that we will be controlling the kind of operation that will be carried out on the file of stew.txt. Now the next up is we need to write some information. All right, so we'll run a loop consisting of 3 cycles, and then each time the loop runs, we'll prompt the user to enter a name, and that name will straight away be stored in the file named stew.txt. So let's run the loop for I in range followed by 3. Okay, so colon. So the first value of I will be 0, the second value of I will be 1, and third value of I will be 2. 3 will not be included. So it starts from the index value of 0 and finishes at 2. So 0, 1, 2, that makes 3 cycles. And then we'll prompt the user to enter a name. Enter a name, and then once the name has been entered by the user, it gets assigned to name, and then the crux of this program is file in. Oops, I think it has to be file out. I'm sorry, I made a little mistake. Okay, file out. The reason why I named the variable as file out is this time the information has to travel from the memory to the file. Right? The information has to be written from the memory out to the file. Hence, I prefer to keep the variable name to file out. In the earlier examples, the name of the object was file in. So we were reading from the file into the memory, from the file into the memory. Hence, it's a file in kind of operation. Even though it doesn't make any difference, but just to simplify the understanding of the program, if you could name the variables in a friendly manner, later on, just in case if you bump into some kind of problem, it'll be a lot easier for you to find the error, thereby fix the error. File out and followed by write function. Okay, so this is very important, write function, and then followed by name. All right, and then come out. I would like to close it, file dot close operation. Again, this is another kind of function. So we'll run the program and then get on with the explanation. Let's say I run this. The first name will be Tenzin, the second name will be Tsering, followed by Tashi. Okay, where do we need to check? We'll go behind the scene and then open this. Now this too has been created as a result of the execution of the program. So open this, there you go, you have Tenzin, Tsering and Tashi. So this is a simple program which will write three basic information, back into a file. But the problem here is understandable. You don't have white space character in between. White space character could be a space, could be a tab, could be a new line character. I hope by now you must have understood the meaning of white space characters. Why are they important is, let's say if I would like to read the names, unless and until there is some way to differentiate or separate among these three names, you will not be able to read the names on an individual basis. So this problem will be taken care of in the second program. But before I jump to the second program, let us try to understand the meaning of close. So this close function, it does two important things. The first one is it will disconnect the link between the file out handle and the file itself. This file out prior to the execution of file out.close is linked or connected to the stu.txt. So with the execution of close function, the link between the file out and the stu.txt will be broken off. Why do we do this? The primary reason is, as and when you are done with the file out object, if you run this close function, the file out object will be freed up. All right. So which means the memory occupied by file object will be freed, which means, we'll be left with more amount of storage at our disposal. Okay. So this is, the practice that you need to adopt if you want to make the program effective and efficient. As of now, since we are dealing with relatively very simple, very small programs, you might not be able to weigh the importance of the close function. But another important benefit of close function is, let's say at this particular point, let's say you have reached the end of all three loops, which means the user has entered all three names. Imagine if the loop has to cycle for the entire strength of the class. We are talking about 30 odd students, 40 odd students, and not just the name, the roll numbers, the marks and whatnot. At the end of the last loop or the last cycle, the information is not yet permanently written into the stu.txt, right? At the end of the final loop, before the execution of close function, the information, that hard typed information by the user, have not yet been permanently stored in stu.txt. Rather, they are stored in some kind of temporary memory by the name of buffer. Buffer, is a commonly used term in terms of computing technology. When you watch a YouTube video, unless and until enough video information has been downloaded in the buffer, you don't get to see in the browser, right? Another general example could be once upon a time in our history, Tibet is such a important strategic country for India because it acts as a buffer between China and India. So something similar to this. And then if I cite one more example, when you send printing command, say page number 1 to 10, the pages, they come out of the printer one by one, but the rest of the printing commands are stored in a buffer. So if the first one finishes, the second one will be picked up from the buffer and then it will be executed. So these are important basics and worth spending a few minutes on the explanation of this important basics. Alright, so once the close function is executed, the information which are stored in the buffer will now be permanently stored in the files which reside on the disk. stu.txt resides on the hard disk. stu.txt, as per our example, is stored in the folder of temp, and then that particular temp folder is nothing but a part of a C drive. So with the execution of close function, the information which is temporarily stored in a buffer will now be permanently transferred onto the file by the name of stu.txt, which resides on the disk. So this is the importance of close function. So let's move on to the second program of today's class. Okay, create a file to hold some data separated as lines. As you have noticed just a while back, the three names were not separated. So if you have to separate it, it's the programmer's responsibility to be inserting white space character. So let's do this real quick. Fout equals open, right? And then followed by rc colon slash, followed by temp slash, and then stu.txt. And then you have the file mode of W, right? I forgot to mention something about this R. I'll do this real quick. In the earlier video lesson, we have used double slashes. If you do not use double slash, the problem is you will have the problem of escape sequence coming into the picture, which will distort the path of the file. Hence, we use another backslash to suppress the effect of escape sequence. I hope you are in a good position over the understanding of escape sequence. But there is another way to take care of the problem of escape sequence using the prefix by the name of R. This particular R, when used, will convert this path into a raw string. Raw string means RAW string, which means now this string has become raw in nature. Raw means there is now no more hidden effects of the escape sequence, right? So this R will convert this particular string into a raw string. The earlier strings were not raw. The reason is, we could see the effect of, the single slash, the double slash, all right? But if you put this prefix R, this string will have no kind of effects like escape sequence. It's a plain string which could be used directly as a path leading to a file. So R means raw, and this will convert the string into the raw string. Okay, raw means, raw mango means it's not eatable yet, it's not yet ripened, so leave it there. Okay, so leave as it is, something similar to that. And then it's almost the same program as the earlier program. Let's run a loop for I in range, followed by 3, and then name equals input, enter a name, all right, followed by fout dot write name, and then I would like to insert a new line character as per the question, fout dot write. Now this is how we as a programmer should carry out the responsibility of explicitly inserting the new line character. So this is the message of this program. So slash followed by n, escape sequence for new line character, and then finally you have fout dot close. Okay, so let's run the program. Okay, now when you run this program, what happens is the file mode being W will replace the earlier file by the name of stew.txt. Let's say if I have something like this, stew1, stew1 is a brand new file name, which means, the stew1 will be created since there is no existing file by the same name of stew1.txt. But if I do it like this, just a while back we had one program which created a file by the name of stew. So if you keep the file name to W, this new stew will altogether replace the old content or the earlier file of stew.txt. It will replace. If it's not there, it will just create. So we'll just check it out. Let's run the program. Now this time I would like to write names like Pema, okay, just to make it a little different. Say Tenzin, and then let's say Seldon, and then press enter. We'll just go back and check. Look at this. Now when you open this, the earlier 3 names, which were Tenzin, Sering Tashi, if I'm not wrong, without any spaces, have all together been replaced by the new names, which have been just entered. So this is the significance of W as a file mode. It just, completely replaces the old content. If there is no file by the same name, it just creates, this new file, and then the program continues. All right. So, okay. Now let's go and check out program number 3, which is create a file with some names separated by new line characters without using write function. The third program of today's class reads something like this. Create a file with some names separated by new line characters but without using write function. So we're just left with one more write function, which is write lines. Write lines with S at the end. So let's get started. Okay, as usual, let's say we have the fout object open followed by R single quote C:/temp folder. Now this time we'll just change the name of the file to stew1.txt, and then we have the file mode of W. Okay, so remember, now this time we have to use the write lines, not the write. So if you want to do this, if you want to write a program for this, we need to take a help of the list data type or list variable. Say list1 equals and then couple of square bracket. I hope you're able to remember when you were in class 11, this is how you declare a variable to be of list data type. And then, now this is the most amazing thing about the Python programming language. In the earlier programming languages, the likes of Java, the C++, we need to first declare a variable to be of certain type and then get on with the usage of the variables in the form of assignment or followed by any kind of operation. But Python is so dynamic in nature. You have list1, nobody knows, the type of the list1 data type, but it all depends on the first value that is assigned to the variable. So what is it that I'm assigned to list1 is an empty list. This is an example of an empty list. So when empty list is assigned to list1, list1 automatically becomes the data type of list. So this is, one of the most amazing things about Python as a programming language. So, and then we'll have again for I in range. We'll keep the number of loops to just 3, and then followed by name equals input. Okay, and then you have enter a name. All right, and then followed by, we'll use the append function. Append is a function which adds the elements to a list, which adds. The append generally means, when you want to connect something, when you want to add up something, that's what you mean by append. So if you want to keep pumping in the elements, more and more elements in the list variable, the right function is append. So we'll write name and then followed by a new line character, right? Or I think, we have to use the plus sign here. All right. Okay, and then come out, and then using the file object of fout, will write the content of list1 to the file by the name of stu1.txt. So this is how the explanation should go on. Say if somebody asks you to explain this statement, it's pretty simple. List1 has the content of the information which comes from the user, and then this information is written into the file stu1.txt using the file handle of file out. Another question could be, which function is used to create a link between the file object and the file itself? Yes, you're right. Hope you have answered this question. So it has to be the open function. And then finally, we'll just close this. We'll close it. fout.close. Right? Okay, let's run the program and check. All right. I'm sorry. Right lines. Okay, so it's not right, it's right lines. I'm sorry. Okay, let's run the program and check. Now this time I would like to keep my favorite footballers. Leo. I'm sorry if you are Real Madrid football fan. Really very sorry. Okay, but no apologies. Okay, so the second one will have to be Neymar, soon to join Barcelona, and then finally the midfielder Frankie, and then press enter. Okay, let's go and check behind the scene. I have this stu1. When I open this, I get to see the correct output. Leo followed by Ne followed by Frankie, and then what separates each names is the space, the white space character in the form of new line character. So in this particular program, the takeaway is right lines is a function which works with list data type. I repeat, right lines is a function which works with list. So in a list, you could have plenty of elements, those elements represented by the list as a unit could be transferred into a file through the right lines function. If you use right function with the list, it will not work. So the basic difference between the two is right works with just one parameter, perhaps a value or a combination of a value, it could be, but right lines works specifically with the list data type. So this is the basic difference between the two. Now let's say I have some lines in between fout.writeLines and then the final statement of fout.close. Let's say I don't have this. Hash converts the statement into comment. Comment means it doesn't participate in the program. It's just a plain statement which is not a part of a program, which means the interpreter will ignore the statement which starts with the hash sign. Okay, so if you leave like this, will the program run? Absolutely, it will run without any problem. But you may wonder, if the program runs correctly, what is the significance of close? You put the close there, you don't put it there. It looks like there is no difference at all, but there is a massive difference. The difference is, now let's say you are somewhere over here. Okay, so up till this point, the informations in the form of 3 names, were they entered permanently into stu1.txt? The answer is no. They were stored temporarily in a buffer. Let's say statements in between causes the program to crash. All right, the statement is a lethal statement. It generates a weird kind of error, as a result of which the program just comes out of the interpreter, just breaks the program, crashes the program, and the control jumps out of it. The problem is obvious. The number of names, the huge amount of data that the user have entered, they were all gone into the drain. They all have evaporated. Okay, so this is the reason why it's so important that you have this soon after the write lines. Right? So if you have this up here, even if there are many more statements, following fout.close, say the program crashes because of one of the following statements, but you need not worry about the safety of the information thanks to the fout.close function. So the close function will force write. I like this term. It force writes the information to the files on the disk. I now hope you got a complete picture of the close function. Let's move on to the next program. Program number 12. Write a program to get roll numbers, names, marks of the students of a class. These information need to be entered by the user and store these details in a file called marks.dat. So DAT stands for data. Again, it's nothing but an example of an extension. Extension means the additional name which identifies the kind of file. For example, .mp4, .mp3, .docx, .jpg. There are plenty more. So .dat, .txt are more or less the same kind of data type which are used or which are compatible with the text editors like Notepad or Context. Okay, now this time the program is a little different, but as compared to the earlier two programs, it's more or less the same. Okay, let's start again. fout equals open and then followed by rc/temp, be careful, temp/marks.dat followed by w. All right. Okay, so the only difference is there is hardly any difference, but the program is a little bigger. Okay, so let's continue. Let's say I run the loop again for I in range. If we miss out on any statements, we could always come back and fill it up. 3 names just to make the program simple. Okay, now this time the program is asking 3 different data. The first one is the roll number followed by names, and then you have the marks. Print just to make the program little more friendly. Enter the details of student number 1. So let's have here I plus 1, okay, and then followed by, okay, something like this. I don't need this. Okay, forget it. I don't need this. Okay, now we'll get the roll number. RNO int input roll number. Okay, so the roll number that you enter is initially of string data type, and then that number, which is a string, technically will be converted to integer, and that number will be assigned to RNO. RNO will have a number which is an integer. It sounds a little weird. All the numbers are integer. The numbers, they are generally integer, but there are certain kind of data which looks like number, but technically internally they could be just like how the texts are. Okay, you know everything in class 11. Followed by name equals, no need of conversion as such, name colon, and then finally I have the marks. So the marks are generally in the format of float. Marks equals, that's it, and then we'll pick up all the pieces together and then have it assigned to REC. Record is equal to RNO plus, and then comma, followed by okay, name plus, we'll use a comma as a separator. That's what you mean by delimiter. And then plus, we are concatenating all the characters and the variables. And finally we have the marks followed by comma and a space, and then we'll end up with, oh, I don't need comma here, and then backslash followed by n. Okay, so what did I just do was I picked up all the variables of roll number, name, and the marks, and then I concatenated, I add up, okay, concatenation is the right word, I concatenate all the characters and the strings, and then had it assigned to a variable by the name of record, REC. Let's write it fout.write REC. That's it, I guess, and then come out fout.close. Okay, so that's about it. So we'll just check until and unless you get the right output, your program is never ever correct. So let's run this, and then I'll enter the roll number 1 followed by the name, Lionel Messi. Oops, there is a mistake here. So let's just check what is the mistake. Okay, could not convert string to float. Okay, let's look at this particular statement. Okay, so I'm sure some of you must have already figured out the mistake while I was writing the program, hopefully. Here I've missed out on input, and then, okay, that's it, I guess, and then I need one more closing parenthesis. That should do. Okay, this will give you a nice practice of debugging the program. When I do it, I hardly come across the such mistakes. Generally, there are exceptions because I'm used to, but when you carry out such the practices, you are bound to come across a lot. And I've seen students time and again banging their fist on the table. You get frustrated, but if you want to become real good programmers, patience is the key. Okay, hopefully now this time I'll be able to run the program. Okay, roll number 1, you see this, this is I plus 1. The first value of I is 0, 0 plus 1 is 1. Enter the details of student number 1, press enter, followed by Leo, marks 99, and then again I have a problem here. Okay, the problem is REC equals RNO. Okay, is it because of this? I don't think so. Okay, we'll just, it can be, but we'll see. Okay, let's do this real quick. And then finally, I have this, right? It can be because of this, but I'm wondering what could be the problem. What does it say? Unsupported. Okay. Okay, the problem here is I need to convert the roll number, which is an integer, back to str. Today is a bad day for me. I'm making quite a bit of mistake. Okay, no problem. str and then followed by this. You know, the error report is very helpful. Unsupported, you cannot just add integer with a string. Okay, now this is the third time. Hopefully I'll be able to run it without any problem. Number 1, okay, Leo, 99, come on, good. Number 2, Neymar, 98, followed by 3, Frankie, and then 97. Press enter. Okay, looks like the program just got executed correctly. Let's go back and check. Okay, you have this. We'll just open it. Open with, we'll use the notepad. Okay, more app. You can use the Microsoft Word. We'll just try this and then check out the result. Okay, there you go. I got the right answer of 1, Leo, 99, followed by 2, Nay, 98. Finally, I have 3, Frankie, 97. Alright, so this is how you should write the program for program number 3. Okay, so I hope you're clear with this. Nothing much to differentiate this program from the earlier two, but this program, you know, is little bigger. You know, it will take you a little closer to the application of write in the bigger program. Okay, now let's move on to the next program. Okay, write a program to display the contents of file stu.dat created in the program 12. I've made a slight mistake. This should not be stu. This should not be stu. This should be rather marks.dat, right? So I'll just have it change. This is marks.dat. I'll have this converted to markdown and then run this. There you go. Okay, I got the question correct. Okay, I shouldn't have actually gone behind the scene and shown you the content of the program. I should have rather, you know, showed you the new output, you know, through program number 13. So, okay, fin. Now this time I'm reading. I'm just checking. So it has to be fin, open, and then followed by R. You have C /temp / the name of the file is marks.dat, and then it's a writing or reading operation. So you could have it like this, or this is optional. You may get rid of this because the default file mode will always be R. Okay, now I hope you remember this. str equals, I leave a space. What is the value of str? The value of str is a space, and space is not a null value. It's not a none value because it has a value by the name of space. So even though, you know, space is invisible to us, but we could feel and see the importance of spaces. If you fail to understand this, try to enter or try to leave a space between your email addresses. Try to leave a space between your web addresses. You will understand the importance of space. So str value is a space, hence it's none value. So while str, okay, so which means the value of str, is a space. Space is none value. Hence, it evaluates to true. So this is how you compare between the values to the two Boolean values of true or false. Any none values are considered as true. The none and the null values are treated to be false. Okay, so as long as the value of str is not none, I would like to keep the loop running. So we'll use the read line function. Okay, so line equals fn dot, okay, read line, and then followed by, that's it I guess, followed by, I now need to print it. Is it? I now need to print it. Is it? So print followed by line, and then, okay, I'm sorry, str, and then print str, right? And then come out of the loop. Finally, we'll have to close the fn dot close. But this time, close function will just disconnect the link between the fn and the marks dot data. It has nothing to do with forced writing the data from the buffer to the files, on the disk. Okay. Okay, the problem is again to do with the file path. Okay, which means I think I'll have to put a here. So I think it's better off using, the extension as txt. Let's run the program and check. There you go. Oh, that's a little weird. So while writing the file, we have used the extension of .dat, but when reading it, I better use data, otherwise it doesn't work. I'm not very sure about the reason why, this is, happening, but nonetheless, we got the program correct. So I suggest you to use .txt, okay? Otherwise, if you intend to use .dat, why don't you put one additional a at the end if you want to, read the content again. So let's, try to understand this program real quick. Okay, str value, like I said, evaluates to true. It then reads the first line. 1 Leo 99, it'll be then printed. It goes up and then checks the value of str. The value of str is the entire first line, which means it will evaluate to true again. It reads the second line. The second line will be printed. Again, it goes back. You have still the second line in str, which evaluates to true. Third line will be picked up. The third line will be printed. And then again, it goes back. You have the third line, which evaluates to true, but you don't have any lines as such. So an empty line will be printed. And then finally, when you go up and check the value of str, the value of str this time will be none, because there are no values, post the third line or the final line of the marks.data. So this is how you should be understanding this program. All right. Okay. So if you want to get rid of this line, you know how to, right? Print statement automatically inserts, one additional Newline character. So you can have this end keyword in order to get rid of this additional line. So this is the real content of the file by the name of marks.data. Okay, now the next program is write a program to add 2 more students' details into the file created in the program number 12. So now the difference between this program and that earlier program, which is program number 12, is this time, we need to append, we need to add. Okay, so it's not that, we have to replace the old content with the new ones, but rather I would like to make the new ones as a part of the old content. So that's what you mean by appending operation. So naturally, your file mode has to be changed. The first file mode was R followed by W. Now this time it has to be A. So, in order to save time, I'll just copy and paste it. Just copy and paste it, because logically these two programs are the same. It's just that I need to change this to A, and then I'll just keep the number of loops to 2. So A file mode is a mode which will make sure that the new information will be added to the old information of the marks.data. I hope I made this pretty clear to you. A stands for append file mode, which will add the new ones to the old ones, which belong to the file name by the name of marks.data. So append is nothing but a writing operation. W and A both are writing operation, but the question is, how do they differ? If you have the file mode of W, the old ones will totally be replaced by new ones. The old ones, the information, they'll just disappear. They'll just get lost. But with A, what happens is the new information will become a part of the old information. So this is one important difference between the two. But appending as a whole is nothing but a writing operation. But the difference between the W and A, need to be noted. Okay, so we'll run this, and then now this time, okay, let's have roll number as 4 followed by PK 96 this time, and then I'll pick up another Barcelona footballer, say 5, and then Lewis, and finally I'll have the marks as 95. Okay, so let's go and check, or how about running this program? What do you have to say about this? If I run this program, will the program be able to print the updated information? We'll just check. Well, there you go. We now get to see the two new additions in the form of PK and Lewis. And even if you want to go behind the scene and check, I guess you should be seeing the updated information. So I think it's better off using the notepad. Where is notepad? Okay, there you go. So the two new additions in the form of PK and Lewis are appended, or rather added, to the earlier 3 informations in the form of Leo, Nay, and Frankie. So this is the difference between append and write. I hope I made myself really clear. Okay, now let's move on to the next program. Okay, we are done with this, right? Okay, what do we see here? We have a new function by the name of flush. I'll not write a program to explain the importance of or the usage of flush. I'll just directly explain. I think you should be able to understand with ease. Flush is a function which force writes the information which is stored in the buffer into the file on the disk. So basically flush performs one of the functions of close, meaning the information which is stored in the buffer will be permanently transferred into a file on the disk with the help of flush function. But what separates flush from the close is flush function will not disconnect the link between the file handle or the file object with the file itself. So there could be a situation where you would like to force write the information from the buffer to the file on the disk. but you would not like to break the link between the file object and the file itself, the choice should be flush function. But at times, if you would like to force write the information from the buffer to the file on the disk, at the same time, if you would like to free up the resources, of the file object, if you would like to break up the link, then you need to go for the other function in the form of close. So that's the difference between the flush function and the close function. Okay, I will prefer not to go to the next topic. That next topic will again take at least half an hour, and then as per the directive, we are advised to keep the video duration in and around 1 hour. So I rather would like to, I'm not sure how much time we are left with, but I think it's a better idea if we could solve 2 programs based on this lesson and the earlier lesson. The first question is, write a function to count the number of lines in a text file story.txt which is starting with alphabet A. The question is self-explanatory. You could have many lines or many sentences. Some of them could start from letter A, some of them could start from any other characters than A. So your task is to count the number of lines which start with alphabet A. But for this we need to go back and create a notepad file, or we'll use this. Okay, use this, and then we'll rename this as story.txt. If I open this, I don't have any line which starts from A, so I'll just put this aeroplane, apple. Okay, and then I'll save this. So if the program runs successfully, your answer should be 2, because there are 2 lines which starts with letter A. So we'll close this. Let's go back and write the program. Now this question is pretty important. It had appeared in the last year question paper of computer science board examination. So, it would be worth like 2 marks. So let's check out. Let's do it. Okay. Again, should I be using file in or file out? Should I be using file in or file out? Since it's a reading operation, it has to be file in equals open, and then you have rc /temp/ the name of the file is story.txt. Since it's reading, I don't need to specify explicitly the file mode. Okay, now the next step is, let's use the read lines function. Let's use the read lines function. If I could recall quickly, read lines function will read the entire lines of the story.txt, and then it will convert those lines into the individual elements of a list. So which means if I have something like this, list1 equal file in dot read lines. Okay, so what happens here is, in story.txt we have Leo, Apple, Nay, Aeroplane, Frankie. You have 5 lines. All those 5 lines will be read and they'll be converted into the data items or individual elements of list by the name of list1. And then we'll take the help of count variable to keep the count of those lines which start with the letter A. And then for W in list1, this is simple, right? So loop variable, W is a loop variable. We have done this in class 11. W is a loop variable. It will assume, or it will take over the first element of list1. The first value of W will be the first value of list1, which is nothing but the first line of the story.txt. And then I run a check. If I now need to check whether the first character of that particular line is equal to a or not. If the condition is true, I need to increment the value of count. How do you refer to the first character of that particular line? We need to take the help of index. So W followed by 0. So W represents the entire line, which is Leo in our case, and 0 points to the first character, which is L. If it's equal to small a, or if W of 0 is equal to big A, if one of these two conditions evaluate to true, the overall condition will be true. So if either of these conditions is true, I would like to increment the value of count by 1. Okay, that's it, I guess. And then come out, let's have the print statement. Print number of lines which start with A or big A is, comma, you have count, and finally we'll close it. File in dot close. Okay, so let's run the program. Fingers crossed. Oh, there you go. Number of lines which start with small a or big A is 2. Let's go back and check story. I'll just change this to a Renki. Oh, no problem. I'll just save this, close it. When you run the program, this time your answer should be 3. All right, so this is pretty simple. Okay, let's understand this program for the one last time. ReadLines will return all the lines of story.txt, and then they'll be converted into the data items or the individual elements of list 1, and then count equates to 0. W will have the value of first element of list 1. W of 0 points to the first character of the first element of list 1. If it's equal to small a or if it's equal to big A, the count will be incremented. In case of Leo, the value of W of 0 is L. L is equal to A, false, small a. L is equal to big A, false. So this will not be executed. So the count will remain at 0. So this is a very, very important program. It's an application oriented, the program. Okay, now let's go to the final program of the day. Write a program that copies a text file source.txt onto target.txt, barring the line starting with a @ sign. So we must have source.txt. There should be several sentences or lines. Some of them will start with @ sign, some of them will not, but you need to copy those lines from source to target which does not start with @ sign. That's the meaning of barring. Leaving the lines which start with @ you should copy and then have it pasted onto the target.txt. It's something similar to copy and paste. See, we are trying to go closer and closer to the real life application. Before we write the program, let's prepare this file. Okay, story, not story, sorry, this has to be source, right? Let's open this, and then I'll have here. No, I want to copy Leo. I don't want to copy this, and I don't want to copy this also. Okay, so I would like to copy Leo, Apple, and Nay, because they do not start with the @ sign or symbol. Okay, so when you run the program, if it runs successfully without any problem, you should enter with a new file by the name of target.txt, and on opening it, we should find 3 statements, 3 lines: Leo, Apple, Nay, because they don't start with @ sign. So we'll go back and write the program for this. Okay, fn, oops, sorry. So we need to open the file first. Fn equals open followed by r and then c:/temp/ followed by source.txt, and then fout equals, now this fout will be used to write the lines from source to the target, and then open, we don't have this, right? What am I doing? Okay, r and then c:/temp/target.txt followed by the file mode of w. This is important. You don't need to worry about whether the target file has been created beforehand. You don't need to worry about this, because the very file mode of w will always create a new file. If there is already a file which exists with the same name, the new one will replace the old one. But if you want to read the content, you better have a file beforehand, before you start the program. Okay, and then now the next up is we need to run a loop. We need to run a loop which is something like while true. Okay, so when I say while true, be careful, this the true, the boolean value has to start with big T. While true means, now this loop will always be true at the condition which is next to the while. Generally we have a condition here whose truth value changes. So as long as it remains to be true, the loop will continue. The moment it changes to false, the loop terminates. Okay, but over here, based on the situation, I would like to keep it to true. So this the condition is already predefined as true. So which means we now need to find a way to come out of the loop from inside the while loop using a statement by the name of break, B-R-E-A-K. We have done this, the application of break statement in class 11. At times you could come out of the looping block, using a break statement. And then you have another by the name of continue. All right, so let's pick up the first line. Line equals fn dot read line. All right, okay, we have picked up the first line and then had it assigned to line. What do we have in line? We have Leo in line. Okay, Leo in line, the first line. Why don't you check for the end of the file? If you go on reading line by line, ultimately it will reach the end of the file. So we need to ensure that just in case if we reach the end of the line, we need to come out of the break, the looping, the block. So we'll just write the condition for this. If len of line is equal to 0. What do you mean by this? Len of line means the number of characters in a line. If the number of characters in the just read line is 0, can I safely say that you have reached the end of the file? Okay, yes, you may argue that there could be a blank line followed by some more lines. Okay, but that will come later. Let's not unnecessarily confuse the concept. We'll just keep it simple. Let's say it's a pre-decided condition that you have certain lines without any blank lines in between. Okay, so this is my condition. You have set of lines which do not have any blank lines in between. So as per this particular condition, you need to write the program. Then followed by break. If the number of characters in the just read line is equal to 0, which means you have reached the end of the file, it's time to come out of the while block. Right? I now need to check whether the statement starts with @ sign. Now for this, how do you point to the first character? Simple, line of 0. If the line of 0 is equal to @sign, should I be copying or should I just leave it? I should leave it, right? I should leave it. If the first character is equal to @sign, which means you should leave it, because you're not supposed to copy from source to target. Okay, so this is the reason why you need to write here continue. What this statement will do is it will skip the rest of the statements till the end of while, and then it will cause the next iteration to begin. Let's say I come here and then write fout dot write followed by line. Okay, I think it's better off completing the program first, and then if the explanation follows, that'll be a better idea. Okay, let's close it. Fn dot close and then fout dot close. Okay, looks like all is good. Okay, I think we'll run the program first. Okay, we'll run this. Okay, so don't expect any output, because okay, let's run this again. Let's run this again and then check the target file, and then you have the source file, right? Okay, there you go. Okay, as you could see, the name of this file is source and the name of this file is target. So the first three lines, Leo, Apple, Nay, have been copied, but it leaves out the aeroplane and Ranky because they start with @ sign. So let's have a quick look at the program and try to understand the logic. Okay, as per this, just keep it here. Okay, everybody, please pay attention. The condition is true. It reads the first line of Leo. The value of line will be Leo. The length of line, the number of characters in the Leo is 3, so the condition is false. And then it reaches this. The line of 0 points to the first character of L. First character of L. L is equal to @ sign. Is it true? The condition is true. If the condition is true, this statement, the condition is false. The condition is false. So if the condition is false, will this be executed? No. L is equal to @ sign. So the condition is false, which means this will not be executed, but this is a part of the while block. So this will be executed, as a result of which Leo will be copied from source to target. And then it goes for the next one. It will read the next line, which is Apple. Length of Apple is not 0, so break will not be executed. Again, this condition is false, okay, because small a is not equal to this will not be executed, so which means Apple will be written. Now let's say you go for the fourth loop. Now this time the value of line is @aeroplane, so line of 0 is @ is equal to continue statement will execute. Now this time what happens is the control will jump to the next loop, which is the last loop, or loop number 5. So the significance of continue is it will skip this statement. You have just one statement following continue till the end of the loop, but in other cases there could be multiple statements till the end of the loop, so the continue statement will ignore the rest of the statements till the end of the loop, and then it will cause the next iteration to begin. It will not force you to come out. That's the responsibility of the break statement. Okay, so this is how you should write the program for the textbook question of writing a program that copies text file from source to target, barring the lines which start with @ sign. So with this I would like to wind up, but as usual I'll be putting up the notes on our school website. The address is down there. You can see the address down there. Follow the link and then you will see the PDF file. Please copy them neatly, and then when you copy the programs which I have just shown you, and when you copy the PDF notes, you should never ever copy it blindly. It's a sheer waste of time. It's better off making photocopies. But as and when you copy, as and when you write the notes, you should be trying your level best to understand, what is it, that you're writing. So, when you write the notes, you'll be able to understand better. That's, very important. So in the next video, I'll be covering, the remaining topic and the subtopics of the same chapter. Until then, please take very good care of yourself and see you next time. Thank you very much.